Yeah, so Westernacher is a focused SAP partner. We've been in partnership with SAP for over 35 years. We have been existing as a company for over 55 years. We started kind of at the same time that SAP started in Germany. So we're headquartered out of Germany with presence right across the globe. In terms of our focus areas, we cover the digital core solution stack, the supply chain management and supply chain transformation solution stack. And as part of that, we also have the focus on procurement solutions, specifically across intelligence spend and the business network for logistics solutions. And that is where Ariba gets attached as a procurement solution. And we have a team that covers the entire solution stack across Ariba.
Basically, as in other aspects of our business, we are a lean, mean marketing and go-to-market machine. So small team, very resourceful, but we really needed to kind of build and accelerate the pipeline from a demand gen perspective. So we needed to kind of extend our tentacles, if you will, far and wide, and kind of build a stronger and more robust infrastructure to support those demand generation and lead acceleration activities. Callbox, with its reputation of kind of doing this and understanding the broad base of SAP solutions, and kind of having the support of SAP and having worked with SAP for a number of years, seemed like a great partner to do that with, right? Shorter learning curve, willingness to learn. And so we kind of formed that partnership thereof, approximately 5 months ago, I would say. Yes, so we were mostly relying on ourselves. So prior to working with Callbox, and that's still the case, although we've expanded and grown the team and continue to grow, we have a couple of FTEs on the marketing side, and then a couple of vendors that support us from a digital marketing and creative execution perspective, and a global marketing function that does that as well. We have kind of a customer success / sales team that Millen is a part of. So that is a handful of very seasoned professionals who support kind of that heavier lift sales cycle. But in terms of the top of funnel lead generation, kind of MQL to SQL funnel development process, we really only have this kind of lead marketing team and didn't have kind of that extra support to buttress that effort beforehand.
Well, I'll jump in here. So if you look at it collectively from where we stand over the 55 years engagements and looking forward, everyone's moving to the cloud, but now everyone's looking at AI as well. And we're aligning to that, but also bringing in the supply chain, the procurement, and the business network for logistics optimization flavor to it, right? So it's not just looking at how do we move to AI, but how do we automate and bring in AI into the supply chain process? How do we look at the procurement and be able to have customers have faster decision making by having that capabilities with AI and a transformation on their procurement. And that's where we are looking at getting that message out. The idea behind working with Callbox was to have that approach, to be able to go out to the customer in more proactive fashion rather than a reactive fashion of waiting for somebody to come and ask us, or waiting for the curve to reach its peak. And in that context is where we wanted to work with Callbox to have the team empowered with that messaging going out.
So I want, before we talk about the results, I want to call out the fact that part of why we were able to kind of make these monumental changes in the campaign is really because of the consummate partnership I think that we have with Callbox. Their willingness to learn and pivot, and kind of listen, be active kind of listeners and observers to kind of the feedback that we're giving them, and take all of that to heart and also be kind of quick to change, right? And to learn and grow from the process. So I think that made all the difference in our ability to kind of pivot when we needed to. These things happen, right? So and the other thing is you mentioned a lot of different stages in the demand generation process, and we had to change. We had to kind of evolve and kind of fix them all. It wasn't one thing, right? And it usually isn't, right? It's usually multiple points of failure, if you will, or challenge. And so it starts with the infrastructure. Are we pulling out the right folks from the list? Are we siphoning the right folks, in the list building process? Do we need to tighten up how we identify personas, right? In that persona identification, is the messaging clear and crisp enough? Maybe it's clear for this persona, but not clear for that. So there was a lot of kind of dissection and a really kind of robust audit and a fix across multiple layers of the pillar of the demand generation process. And I think that made all the difference. You asked about standout results. So it took time, right? And we had to pivot. We had to be patient and allow kind of the Callbox team to absorb some of that change and allow that change, to take into effect. But we're now seeing, on a consistent basis, probably on a weekly basis, at least 1 to 2 solid meetings a week, which is great, which is outstanding results, right? I don't know, Millen, if you have anything to add to that.
Yes, and I think from my side, it was interesting because Callbox was initially more of taking a learning approach, which they latched onto and then sped up in the terms of timeline. So there was a learning curve, but once the Callbox team knew what they need to communicate on a meeting conversation or on an email script, that then ramped up. And there was initially a slower pace, I would say, but that picked up and that resulted in conversions, which we're now seeing. I must add, the team was very responsive. And as Maya said, they were good listeners. They were willing to learn and understand our messaging that we needed to bring in. It's not easy to position a German company in North America initially, but they managed to get that awareness out for us, and we're truly appreciative of all the efforts of the team. We've been doing business in the US for 20 years, but going back to my point previously, right? We've always been working in tandem with SAP, working through them to get opportunities, or we've been leveraging our reference customers to get opportunities. But with the market trends changing and more customers looking at procurement solutions, looking at transformation, it felt that we needed to ramp up our team in terms of who we are and that messaging going out. So Callbox is one of the first campaigns that we're doing in the US. And the approach has changed and shifted, and we wanted to ramp up and be able to be in front of customers faster than have our own sales, marketing, and BDR teams take whatever time period they would take. It felt relevant to work with a party that's been there doing that and knows how to get the message out faster.
I will just add another aspect of that from a marketing perspective, kind of coming from the B2B enterprise marketing space. We know that the whole landscape has evolved in B2B marketing, and a lot of additional kind of self-service touch points. Our buyers are doing a lot of the research on their own. On average, you have kind of 11 to 13 touch points. We also appreciated that Callbox is not a one-trick pony, that they apply all of the omni-channel marketing channels, that we can apply those channels. And like we said, they can extend our tentacles and really help us get the message out, not just on one channel, but on multiple channels. That really helps to engage these buyers and all the key, our ICP, even prior to getting on the phone with kind of consummate professionals like Millen. So that precursor journey is one that's critical kind of in our space, and that we thought, Callbox had the experience to kind of leverage all those digital marketing channels in order to help us do that. Can we say all of it? Because I will just go back. I'm going to jump right in there and just say that I think they all matter. and they all matter tremendously, especially, I mean, if you're looking for, you know, you know, a very, very short-term gig, irrespective of what that project is, then perhaps there are some, some of those components matter more than others. But if you're looking for kind of a longer term partnership, which we assume there will be one with Callbox whenever we have these types of demand generation needs, then all of those components matter, and they're all kind of inextricably linked to one another, right? If they have kind of a proactive, positive approach and are active listeners and learners, then they can kind of fix and pivot anything from the messaging to the list building, which we talked about earlier. They'll be willing to kind of exert that top line and deep effort in order to make, kind of to achieve the best results. And I ultimately believe that that is what achieves those ultimately those outstanding results, which are kind of ultimately we want the quality leads, because our objective is to build and accelerate pipeline. So the end result has to be that, but the whole process leading up to that, all those components matter, and they're all inextricably linked. And Callbox took all of those components seriously.
I would just add to that from my perspective that Callbox was a good listener to understand who we are, what we need, and what messaging needs to go out. And at any point during the campaign, if they realized that was not happening, they were willing to pivot and correct themselves as well. If somebody's coming in and thinking, oh, Callbox is going to do this by themselves and expect to have all the results, it's not fair on Callbox, because the team who's working with them needs to make sure the message going out is communicated correctly. There was a training portion that Callbox did work through, on the job training, and also a knowledge transfer that we did, which helped. But overall, it was the fact that we worked together between both parties to make it work. If somebody's coming in and expecting results from a campaign like this in 3 weeks or a month, that's not practically something that I would say is the correct approach. And we understood that from the start and worked with Callbox through the process. And now we're seeing results on a weekly basis. So there's definitely a long-term plan that we put together. But the best part of this whole conversation is that we managed to execute it correctly to get the result we wanted from day one. And now where we are at day 180 or somewhere there, we can look back and say, yes, it's a successful campaign. Yeah.
I think they know how we feel, but we will say it, we will officially put it out there. Mm-hmm. We appreciate every single member of the Callbox team, Sani, Val, Melissa. Those are the ones that we kind of work with on a weekly basis. I know that there are folks behind the scenes that are also working tirelessly on our project. We appreciate you, every facet of what you bring to the table, right? Both your, I always talk about it. Every time they show up to these calls at 3 a.m. your local time with a bright smile and more vibrant energy than either of us brings to the table. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. We appreciate your vibrance, your resilience, your willingness to learn, and all that you bring to the table. We know you're committed to this partnership as we are, and we look forward to kind of continuing this on a long-term basis.
I basically have to repeat everything that Maya said, but on top of that, to me, it feels now they're part of a Westernacher sales team, right? And that's how close we've worked together. I've been very candid at some points, and it's about getting it done. And we've course corrected, we've changed, we've had our conversations, but it's all been with the win at the end in mind. And that's where I think the Callbox team, Sani, Val, Jaime, everybody, Melissa, including Melissa. Melissa's been supportive of our engagement from day one, and we've managed to make it work. And I'm very appreciative and thankful to have that team. Looking forward to another stint coming up. So heads up, there is something we're working on to have more engagement with Callbox. So as I said, to me, it's an extension of my sales team and my support team that I can be open and candid with. And excited to take that forward and keep that conversation and relationship going. Yeah.